What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Train, as usual. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about an interesting topic. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, is he the new Joel Embiid? That's a loaded question. It's a loaded topic. We have a lot to talk about. But before we get into things, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Comment, tell anyone about the show. I'm trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about this, right? Because obviously I done talked about the topic, right? And you might be wondering, well, what am I actually meaning by that? Well, SGA and Joel Embiid have both been extremely dominant, right? Both players have showcased elite skills, with SGA excelling in scoring efficiency and leadership, and Embiid demonstrating a versatile and dominant presence across multiple facets of the game. I mean, both players are extremely phenomenal. Box office, like, you got to watch them play. You have to. So when I'm listing off these stats real quick, we're going to talk about stats and then context, right? But just note the stats and the similarities. We're going to talk about Shai from this year, and then Embiid when he won the MVP. That was during the 2022 through 2023 season. So again, SGA 2024 through 2025, Joel Embiid 2022 through 2023. SGA had 33 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.7 steals, 1 block on 52% from the field, 37% from the three, 90% from the free throw line. Those are good numbers right there. And then Joel Embiid, again, from the 2022 through 2023 season, he had 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1.7 blocks on 55% shooting from the field, 33% from the three, and 86% from the free throw line. Again, those are good numbers right there. All right, those are extremely good numbers. But let's add a little bit more context, right? Because Joel Embiid played 66 games. Keep in mind, Joel Embiid has been known to have a little injury issue, right? He played 66 games that season. And SGA played 69 games this season, in counting, keep in mind. Okay, so he could play a lot more games than this. And it's highly plausible that he will, unless OKC says, hey, we're going to sit you out, champ, to give you some rest. But he's young, though. He don't need it. So again, these numbers, the games played, they are a little similar. Let's talk about style of play, right? Because SGA does like to attack the basket. Yeah, he does. He's pretty good in the ISO game. I got to give him credit. Joel Embiid's pretty good too, though, in the ISO game. They both like the mid-range. Despite the numbers, Joel Embiid is the better three-point shooter. Both like to get to the free throw line. Both like to use their physical advantage in the game of basketball, which is what you're supposed to do. Like when SGA drives, ladies and gentlemen, he's a lanky player, right? That allows him to get to the basket. He's relatively slender, so he can avoid certain players when he needs to and draw fouls when he needs to. That's a tactic in the game of basketball. Joel Embiid is nimble, a little stocky, but is able to draw fouls because of his stockiness. Either he has to battle you in the paint, or he can Euro and get a foul. Now, there is a little bit of a knock on Joel Embiid falling down to the ground. I do hear those. But again, he is able to draw fouls. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a negative connotation towards drawing fouls in the NBA. Look at James Harden. People were talking about how, all he does is draw contact, and that's how he gets these gaudy numbers. Well, I think there is a little bit of a difference between Joel Embiid and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus James Harden. I view them as potentially better scorers than James Harden. He was good, though. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a level of professionalism that Shai brings that's different than James Harden does. And then Joel Embiid was just more of the dominant player. But when I'm looking at both of these players, Joel Embiid and SGA, again, we have similar stats. I've said before, I think SGA should have won MVP last year. He could very well win it this year. Embiid has won MVP. And there is a negative connotation to both of their games. So what's going to really separate the two? Because y'all could say, oh, well, the leadership there for SGA is not there for Joel Embiid. Okay, I hear you that. I can hear that argument. I can. Subjective, but I hear it. Let's look at their playoffs, because playoffs is what people try to say matters ultimately, right? So currently, point in time, out of 4 playoff appearances, SGA has actually won 1. Joel Embiid, out of 11, has won 7. Well, I'm sorry, out of 18, has won 7. That's not bad, ladies and gentlemen. That's not bad at all. So, well, all right, I lied. It could be better. But it's tough to win in the NBA, especially coming playoff time. So there is a little similarity, because even if you want to say, all right, well, those early years for SGA, they shouldn't be for him. Cool. Let's focus on OKC, where right now he's 50% then, because he won 1 and lost 1. You got to show up in the playoff time. Your team has to perform. Joel Embiid had a decent supporting cast with him. You had Ben Simmons, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey. You've had some solid players. I do think SGA has solid players on his squad. So over the next couple of years, ladies and gentlemen, we will be studying SGA, because what happens if his game is viewed the same way as Joel Embiid's is? He hasn't had the injury issues that Joel Embiid has. So I'm curious what will happen if he keeps getting compared to Joel Embiid. Then, because of those injury issues, let's say SGA never gets injured the way Joel Embiid does, right? And keep in mind, that could be because of how SGA prepares his body in the offseason in comparison to Joel Embiid. But let's say he doesn't really get injured. If he still gets compared to Joel Embiid, at least Joel can say, well, I was injured most of the time. Granted, self-inflicted. Not completely, but still a little self-inflicted. But I would be curious to hear how people talk about SGA. And again, it focuses on the following, because during the regular season, I listed off the stats. People don't care about the stats because, again, we talk about Joel Embiid like he's less than. Oh, he shouldn't be the one option anymore. Oh, he's not a good leader. Can he be the guy? Blah, 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 blah. So how long will it be before folks start talking about SGA in this same manner? And again, the playoffs are what matters. So if SGA does not win, if OKC does not win in the playoffs, expect to see him talked about in the same breath or a similar breath as Joel Embiid. And that's kind of tough to think about when you think about it. But ladies and gentlemen, I am definitely curious y'all thoughts on this SGA and Joel Embiid potential futuristic comparison, because there are some similarities. We got to state that. I'm not talking about, like, obviously there's a big ass difference between height and stature and stockiness, like build. They're 2 different builds if we talking 2K. But they both can get a bucket. They both can defend at an elite level. Both viewed as dominant players in the NBA. MVP caliber. We're going to be focusing on them for the MVP or for the playoffs. Unless you're talking FanDuel, which the regular season we paying attention to, our daggone helps. But again, ladies and gentlemen, that is all that I had for this episode. So I'm curious of your thoughts. So please like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. Hope you all are having a good one. Take care.